Hey guys, welcome back to Sense or Sense. My name's Evan. I wanted to come to you today because I've been teasing you and bringing you some videos about my 2020 BMW M2 CS, and I wanted to let you know a little bit of background as to what I did to get it, why I have it, why it's so special, and a little bit more about the fact that it has won all kinds of awards, and a lot of people believe that it is kind of the best BMW made in the last 20 to 25 years. I've owned a lot of them, and I'm going to give you a background on what I've owned, starting with this bad boy right here. Some of you may recognize that right there. That's a BMW 2002. My dad actually was lucky enough to buy one brand new back in 1975. He did a European delivery, and he and my mom spent a good 6 months driving all over Europe. They put over 10,000 miles on the car and had wonderful trips together in that car, shipped it back over here, and it stayed in my family for 25, almost 26 years. I actually was lucky enough to drive it when I was 16 years old. It was my primary car for the first 3 to 4 years of driving, and then my dad pretty much took it out from underneath me and sold it to another enthusiast because it was running on 3 cylinders, needed a lot of work, and he wasn't willing to put the several thousands of dollars in it at the time. One of the worst mistakes I think of my automotive history was not having enough money to be able to buy that car from him. I begged him to let me finance it from him, and he just wouldn't let me do it. I loved that car. It had no AC. It had basically rubberized seats. It was very, crank windows. It was very, not all mechanical, no computers, mid 70s, but it just felt right. And I loved it, and he sold it. And now they're extremely rare, and they've increased in price to somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000. I think we sold it for $3,000 in 2001 or 2. So going from there, I've also owned a 1998 BMW 323 IS. It was a base car, didn't have really anything on it. It was Avis blue. It was a gorgeous car. It was a lot of fun. It just didn't have the sport pack. It didn't have much on it. And we owned that as a family for quite some time until about 2009, and we sold it at that time. In 2000, we bought a 2000 323 CI manual transmission. All of the cars that I'm listing today are all manuals with the exception of the ones I'm going to point out. The 323 CI was in fern green. It was a great car. It was an E46 chassis. Overall, it was really fun to drive, but it just lacked something. It always seemed like something was off with it, and it was probably because it was the first model year that they made that particular car, and that was a mistake. I moved on pretty quickly to a 2004 BMW 330i performance package, or the ZHP as a lot of people called it, and that had a 6-speed. It had Alcantara interior. It was Emola red exterior, and it was an absolutely brilliant car. I owned the car for 8 years, put about 60,000 miles on it, loved every minute of ownership of it. I still miss it to this day. It's probably the only car besides the 2002 that I regret selling over all these years. It was an amazing car. I kept that car for a very long time. It went with me through multiple homes. I eventually sold it and purchased a 2008 BMW M3 convertible with a DCT. This was my first auto manual automatic BMW that I've ever owned, with the big monster V8. It was an E93 for the designation. It was a beast of a car. It was great to drop the top and listen to the V8 with the custom exhaust that I had on it. Awesome vehicle, but it lacked a lot of low-end grunt. It had a lot of horsepower, but you had to rev it a lot, and I didn't mind doing that. But driving around town, it wasn't the best vehicle, and of course it got terrible gas mileage with the V8. So it stuck around for a couple of years, and then I sold it and I moved on, and I bought a 2014 BMW 230i with an auto. This was my first true automatic car. Great car, great gas mileage, great fun, wonderful, inexpensive vehicle, low maintenance costs, got me everywhere I needed to go. I took it on several cross-country road trips, got over 35 miles per gallon, fun and economical. It was nothing super special, but it was a wonderful car. That led me, though, I love the 2 Series so much, that led me to a 2018 BMW M2 with a 6-speed manual that I bought slightly used with about 8,000 miles on it. And I love this car. This car was amazing. The only reason I sold it was because I happened to get an allocation for an M2 CS. So I sold my M2 actually to a good buddy of mine in Austin, and he still drives it to this day, and he loves it. So I get to see it and drive it whenever I want to. That was another reason why I was willing to sell it. Otherwise, I'm not sure I could have gotten rid of that car. That was probably the third most favorite behind the 2002 and the ZHP back in 2004. But I happened to come across an M2 CS, and I kind of lucked into it. I wasn't the original person that had my name down for it, but someone backed out, and I got the call, and I immediately said, absolutely, I'm going to take it. It's a 6-speed manual. It's highly underrated from the factory. It's got almost 500 horsepower. It's been proven 485 to 495, somewhere in that range, by many dyno tests. The torque is in the 450-ish range. It's just a beast of a car. And the only complaint I have about it is that the sound is mildly under what I would like it to be. If I put an aftermarket exhaust on it, it would be it would feel completely different, I think. But I'm just not willing to modify it. It's such a special car. I want to keep it original. I've owned it since new. No one else has ever driven it besides me. I have about a little over 7,000 miles on it. It's kind of a garage queen because I have a truck for a daily driver as well as an SUV. And my 6-year-old likes to ride it in on the weekends. So it's kind of a weekend garage queen, fun car. I don't plan on ever getting rid of it anytime soon. Hopefully I can, eventually pass it on to my son, much like my dad passed on the 2002 to me. So it is a wonderful, wonderful car. It just pulls like crazy. It has tons of torque down low. It has tons of horsepower. You never feel like it runs out of power at all. It's got well over 7,500 RPM red line. So you just go, it screams. It's got turbos, and it's highly tunable if you want to do so. But the big thing over the M2 competition that it has is that it has adaptable suspension, and the adaptable suspension allows you to basically tune it down to make it really comfortable. You can make it sporty, you can make it almost like a track setting, and that made a huge difference in the overall feel on the streets. I live in Dallas. There are lots of potholes, lots of concrete that is real imperfect in a lot of different places. And honestly, it was hard to drive the M2 around because the M2 would just shudder and make all kinds of noises, and I would hit bumps, and it would be really uncomfortable at times. The M2 CS does away with a lot of that. You add in a bunch of other interesting things into the mix, and it's just a wonderful everyday all-around vehicle. I've got to say that I don't think that BMW has made a car that's this well-rounded. It's got basically room for 4. It's got a good sized trunk. It's got wonderful handling. It's got comfort when you want it. It's got lots of power, lots of torque. I don't think there's been a car that they've made that have all of those things in a very long time. The other car I can think of in the last 25 years is the 2011 1M. That was such a unique car. It was made for 1 year, just like the M2 CS. And the car has held its value. It really hasn't gone down in price all that much. In fact, it's actually, I think, gone up in price for the most part, unless you've really come across one that's been abused or has 4 or 5 different owners. The CS is the same way. It really hasn't decreased in price all that much. And I think the manual is going to hold its value very well. They've already announced the G87 M2 CS is not going to have a manual transmission. It's only going to have an 8-speed automatic. And I think that's going to allow for the F87, which is the 2020 that I own, to maintain its value and be very unique. And I'm going to come to you in the near future with some updates on some drives that I've done, as well as some additional information. Leave a comment below if you want to hear more about my ownership experiences from the last 4 years has been rock solid. I haven't had any issues with it. I'm going to keep it for a long time, as I said. Any questions you have about the car at all, leave me some comments below. Like the video, smash the like button, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll bring you a lot more information. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Evan, and this is Sensor Sense. See you next time.